Abric Romaní rock shelter was discovered in the 20th century, in 1909, and worked after for our team after 83 in the last century. We work in order to know the behavior of Neanderthal. And in this perspective, we work in space, in open areas, in order to know the relationship, the group of Neanderthals since 1,400 years to 800, 900 years ago.
Amador Romaní, when we discovered the site in 1901, have been described 20 archaeological levels. And nowadays we're excavating the level R, that is dating around 58,000 years. All the levels of the sequence, except the level A, the first of the sequence, belong to Middle Paleolithic. The first one is attributed to the Upper Paleolithic, especially Aurignacian. All the sequence are dating by Uranium-Thorium series, because the sedimentation of the site are formed by different sterile and archaeological level interbreeded, and is formed by tufa. That is very good for this type of dating. The upper part of the sequence, the level belonging to Upper Paleolithic, is dated around 37 years old, and the rest of the sequence belonging to Middle Paleolithic begin from 40 until 100,000 years. All the archaeological levels are excavated in the whole surface, especially since level K, that have not been disturbed for the previous archaeological works. This excavation of the whole surface allow us, with the record of all the archaeological remains in the space, to reconstruct the the Neanderthal activity since a palindrographic point of view.
The archaeological levels of Abric Romaní contain a great number of faunal remains. The principal species are red deer and horses. The accumulation is produced mainly by the human activity. The cut mark, bone breakage marks are very numerous in all the levels. That indicates that the Neanderthals hunt and transport all the faunal remains to the site to make a complete exploitation of the prey. Carnivorous activities, secondary by other, are very scarce, which indicate that the faunal exploitation of Neanderthal was complete. We saw that the transport strategies in the site were very variable. They can move a complete animal or only a few elements, depending on the type of occupation. We found as well that the Neanderthal developed specialized hunting strategies, mainly depending on the season of the year and the species. They made mainly a specialized hunting of horses, of the adult horses, the prime adult. And with the red deer, we found that the hunting strategies vary depending on the archaeological level. From the non-selectivity hunting strategy to a very selective hunting on the prime adult and in the young individual.
The main raw material exploited is chert, and is usually collected between 15 and 30 kilometers far from the Abric Romaní. We also have identified other raw material that were extremely close to the site collected, and are schist, rarely quartzite, and most often quartz and limestone. The technological characteristics of these sites are typical Middle Paleolithic lithic technologies. The knapping methods is usually recurrent centripetal, include in the concept of discoid knapping. We were able to identify several refittings in all the layers, and this gave us a lot of information about the management of the sites, the organization of the living space in the campsites, but also we could identify that in several layers the campsites were used as collecting areas. We were also able to identify several lithic items that were transported into the sites and were part of the mobile toolkits that gave us a lot of information about the planning capacities of Neanderthal, but also the management of the landscapes that these humans had in these territories.
After visiting Abric Romaní, we are going to visit another site of the Cingle del Capelló that's called Abric de la Consagració. Hi guys, how are you? Fine. Fine, thank you. Welcome to Abric de la Consagració. This is one of the sites of the Cingle del Capelló, and I'm co-director of the archaeological excavation with Manuel Vaquero. So this is the site. As you can see, is a huge rock shelter. The name is Abric de la Consagració, and the Consagració derives from the chapels that were carved in the travertine during the second half of the 19th century. Then you can see we started the project in 2015. We started the excavation in the upper part, where we expose the lower level of the upper travertine, and then we started in 2016. We opened a new trench on the western part, where we found a really rich Neanderthal flow. So as you can see here, on the section, there was a first rescue excavation in 1985, where Eduard Carbonell and Rafael Mora, they identify several archaeological layers. So for this reason, we restarted the excavation of the sites. As you can see here, we are now digging the upper part, and we are trying to go near the travertine wall. As you can see, there are a lot of rockfall from the upper part of the travertine, but actually we are in the upper part. So we have a couple of series dates for the travertine. So the upper part is around 9,000, and the lowest part is around 50,000 years old. So actually all the sediments that you can see from exposed are actually the lowest, the second half of the MS3, and they comprise MS2 and MS1. So our goal is to find the upper Paleolithic, which is missing from Abric Romaní, in order to better understand the settlement dynamics, of prehistoric hunter-gatherers here in Cingle del Capelló.
Thank you very much, Andrea.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. See you
soon. Okay,
bye.
bye. Miguel, now we have seen the Abric de la Consagració and the Abric Romaní site, and now we are going to follow to the outgroups, the chert outgroups that we have identified along these last 10 years, where we found that the most used chert is in Sant Martí de Tous. It's a town 16 kilometers from here, and another type of chert that is called Panadeia Chart, that it's about 24 kilometers from here. Okay. Now we follow the trip and we go to see these other outgroups. Okay. The Panadeia Chart is located in the Montmano Formation, at the northeast margin of the Ebro Basin, and it's dated to the Rupelian age, that corresponds to the lower Oligocene. It is formed of 100 meters of light grey stratified limestones, with bedded nodular chert, associated to the La Segarra lacustrine system. Only 3 outgroups of the Panadeia Chart have been located, considering the Montmano Formation a non-continuous chert formation. Raw material sources are circumscribed to the northern part of this formation. The first 2 outgroups are close to each other. They are grouped together and named Panadeia, that toponym that gives name to the type of chert. and are situated at the entrance of the Montmano town. The third one is situated in an old quarry at the town of Beciana. The outcrop is known as Pla de la Casilla. The average distance of the three outcrops to the Abric Romaní site is about 24 kilometers.
Here we can see some nodules of the Panadeia Chart. Some of them have Linsengan rings as macroscopic features. It's a really homogeneous chart of dark colors, mostly black, really thin texture. And if you see it in thin section, you can see the matrix is mostly of cryptocrystalline quartz with some calcite, abundant chirophytes as bioclast, and some isolate detrial quartz. We are in San Martí de Tous town, 16 kilometers northwest from the Abric Romaní site. We are now in one of the richest chert place of the central part of Catalonia, and we will show you a great variety of this raw material in this abundant region.
The San Martí de Tous chert is included within the San Genís Formation, a Xenozoic lithostratigraphic unit that is part of the sedimentary filling of the Ebro Basin. The San Genís Formation has a Pre-Devonian age that corresponds to the Upper Eocene and is part of La Noguera lacustrine system, under the denomination of Upper Grey Lutites. Currently, it has a maximum extent of 1.5 km wide and 12 km long, within a northeast-southwest orientation located between the localities of San Genís and Fiol, with a surface area about 5.6 kilometers squares. It is formed up by a succession of 400 meters of sandy lutites of red and grey colors, with horizontal lamination and ripples. In the locality of San Martí de Tous, where silicifications appears, are associated to the lacustrine shallow conditions or SAGVA environment type. At the base of the formation, it presents alternate layers of bedded nodular and laminate gypsums. Through the southwest of the locality, these gypsum layers become massive gypsums with nodular chert. All these outcrops are located about 16 kilometers from the Abric Romaní.
We have two main sectors of chert outcrops here in San Martí de Tous. One is the Guinerdera sector, that we have it here, and the other one is the Fiol Sector. The Guinerdera sector, we have two main sections with several outcrops. One is Calperdut section that we have it there. We localize 4 layers with chairs. One is near that house. Then in the first floor of trees we have the second layer of chert, and the third and fourth are on top of the hill.
Okay.
We are in the first layer of the Guinerdera section, the first layer with chert. Here we have a really nice chert. It's like a jaspoid. It's a tabular red chert that's formed inside the clays. Part of this outcrop it's eroded. Here we found only this little part, but we can see huge big blocks of this nice red chert that form part of the first layer of the Guinerdera section, with 3 other layers with chert.
In between these chert formations, we have localized this site that is a quarry that it was being worked since the Paleolithic until the Bronze Age, and you can see it's full of silex with different categories as flakes, nodules and cores, and a lot of fragments of chert. This is the second floor of the Guinerdera section. The difference between the first one and this is the color, as you can see. The first one, it was red, and this is gray, as you can see. It ranges from the light gray to the dark gray. It's homogeneous and it has a good quality for napping. Now we are here at the Guinerdera North workshop, and we can see there is the town of Sant Martí de Tous, and there we can see the formation of Montserrat, the mountain. This workshop we have excavated it in 2019, and we have recovered most of the material. This material is chronologically attached to the modern times, and it is characterized as a gunflint workshop. We have recovered some cores, flakes, and gunflints that the people who works here have exploded the third floor of the Guinerdera section that we can see now. We are now 20 meters from the Guinerdera workshop. This is the last chert outcrop from the Guinerdera section, and it's characterized by this gray color. It has been exploited in modern times. The sample is the Guinerdera North, and is a layer that is now covered by vegetation, but is continuous.
We're in the second sector of the Sant Martí de Tous town with chert. It's called the Fiol Sector. We found this layer of chert inside the gypsum. This chert is dark colors, mostly black, but also red. It's a chert of not good quality, really good quality, have a lot of fissures and fractures, and we have also different shapes and sides of this chert. We are in the Fiol sector in another outcrop. This outcrop is called Cal Tomàs II. We found these big blocks of chert inside grey lutites. These cherts we have are really heterogeneous. We found good for napping, other than not so good. They are grey, dark grey colors, more or less. And inside this formation of grey lutites, we found different places where this chert appears. In the upper part of the Cal Tomàs outcrop, we found these big blocks of chert. This chert is inside gypsums that are already eroded. You can find here some rest of these gypsums that corresponds at the base of the Fiol outcrop that we just seen before. This chert is really of bad quality for napping because has a lot of fissures and fractures that is not good for napping.
Due to its great variability, the Sant Martí de Tous chert type, it can be defined as heterogeneous chert. Macroscopically, it is characterized by a fine to medium texture with dark and light colors such as blue, grey and brown, and with a translucent deaffinity, with evaporitic relics. Microscopically, it is formed by microcryptoquartz with secondary gypsum, calcite, and dissolution and nodulization structures. This heterogeneous character, represented in different shapes, sizes, colors, and textures, also confers it a high variable aptitude for napping.
We're in Calcitu site is an example of continuous occupation of this chert abundant region. This project began in 2020. We start doing a pit for know a little bit the sequence. We have now 2 levels detated. One is this in the top. It's a Neolithic level, 5,700 calibrate BP. We have also another datation above about 6 or 5-6 meters under this layer. It's a Mesolithic level with a chronology of more or less 9,000 calibrate BP. That shows us that this is an interesting sequence that we have from Neolithic to Mesolithic, and we don't know if we have under the Mesolithic levels, Paleolithic levels. It's a clear example of the use of this territory rich in chert, and how this population, the vast hunter-gatherers and the fish farmers use this raw material for doing their tools. These travertine sequences are really interesting for paleoecological data and also for archaeological remains. This about 8 meters of sequence can explain you, or we can reconstruct the paleoenvironment of this region in the last at least 10,000 years ago.